Hello again. I have three escapist reads for you today, and all of them are highly recommended. Great reads. First one up is Kelly Gardiner and Sharmini Kumar's Miss Caroline Bingley Private Detective. Taken from Austen's world, the authors have decided to pick on maybe the least, but deliciously unlikable character, which was Caroline Bingley, who you may remember had the hots for Darcy and thought she was his social equal. And then Eliza Bennet came along, who definitely wasn't. And he still chose Eliza. So there may be the odd grudge in there. Gardiner and Kumar have done something very different, I think, or sufficiently different to make this book, and I'm hoping the follow-on books stand out. We're really quite comfortably in that cozy crime. We've picked an unlikable woman, but who's independent. So it's entirely plausible that she could become a private detective. So when Georgiana Darcy says, leaves a note or sends to Caroline that she's gone up to London to find her missing maid, Jay, aka Jayani, Georgiana, being impulsive and being affectionate, having affection for her maid, has disappeared. So Caroline Bingley goes up to London to give back the veneer of respectability to Georgiana, who always needs seems to need this kind of rescuing. And they ally. Mostly Caroline Bingley decides, well, she's got to find out where Jayani has gone to, where she was last seen, and what sort of trouble she's in, because obviously she's in some trouble. And full rein is given to her wit and the sharpness of her mind and her ability to get into parts of society that she might, you kind of feel from Austen herself that she might never have visited. Jane Austen was never afraid of women's wit, luckily, but never wrote into a London that might have contained the multitudes that it did at that time. People of all nationalities, of people of colour, people of all origins. And I think Kumar and Gardiner have had a lot of fun looking at what was a historically true and verifiable sort of look at their setting and focus on the East India Company, why not, and corruption that affects the houses of the upper echelons of society, into which Caroline obviously, has guaranteed entry, but also introduces her to all of the some of the other layers of society, or the echelons where she's sort of less at ease, obviously, because she is threatened by being a lady of quality in places where she has really no business being. Great fun. It's very snappy. There's a murder, there's a love story, there's a wealthy family whose shenanigans you kind of suspect, but were deviated, a couple of red herrings, a very delicious Caroline, who you end up liking a lot more. She could have stayed a lot more unlikable, but I think she carries us through the whole escapade, and you are kind of there wanting more. So looking forward to the next one. On another note, another sort of escapism, if you want something not cozy, definitely gothic, suspenseful. Again, which is why we love our writers, is because they will take something and embed it in, a setting or a historical event or fact that can be verified. And this really gives a grounding of as a reader saying, oh, this is fun. We've gone to somewhere where I know I don't have to waste my time saying I don't know if any of these facts are true, because God knows this is what we're all doing at the moment. Nobody knows what's true anymore. Our writers will keep us sane. McCluskey puts us into Laura McCluskey of The Wolf Tree. Now, The Wolf Tree is her first book. She's an Australian writer. And she has set her novel on a remote Scottish island and embedded that into the truth of, in Scottish law, all suicides merit investigation, or must obligatorily be investigated. And has taken a historically narrated, a piece of story from the 1900s where three lighthouse keepers disappeared, just vanished, left their oil skins and their cups of tea and left some strange notes, and they vanished. So these two things combined gave us this story where a young man is found at the bottom of a lighthouse. Because this has to be investigated, everybody says it's suicide, but because the law says they have to investigate it, two detective inspectors come over to the island, and why should I say the island like that? Anyway, they come over and they're a wonderful pair. And I think it's one of the great strengths of this novel is not just that you have a great story, great plot, and can go to all sorts of great places, but if your characters are not believable or in some way, you make you root for them, you're probably going to get, you get this deeper satisfaction from actually liking the interplay of these two characters who fight at times, or they have different views on things. We have George, she calls herself George, and we know that things have not always been perfect for her. She's had some earlier cases which have led her to a breakdown. And then we have Richie, who is older. It's not a romantic relationship at all, and it's not even paternalistic. It's more older brothery, equal, but sometimes someone has to rein you in, and sometimes he's in total awe of George and her kind of fearlessness and their resolute, sort of dogged pursuit of what is really happening. We're on an island, great fun because you have a close community. There is the community is knitted together, but you realize as you go through that is this knitted together because they all just love each other, and hey, this is a weird, this is the world we live in and everyone is an outsider. That's always going to happen in this kind of setting, but you feel a bubbling through this kind of veneer of everything's wonderful, please investigate this, say that it's suicide and please go away. But everything is also kind of set back 50 years early in the way that people think about the mainland and think about the internet and think about modernity. And you can tell that their local spiritual pastor who wants to see them all at church and, appears and seems to have everybody's, interests at heart and is open and frank and honest with them. You're wondering about his influence, the influence of other characters. So lots of red herrings, lots of ways this could have gone. But it's a deliciously creepy story where we have old pagan, sort of the influence of old pagan ideas. You have sort of forbidden areas where things might happen that you may not feel you can explain. And being police detectives, you think you can explain everything, but can you? Great read. Total page turner. I had one lovely customer who came into me and just said, I stayed up till 3 a.m. reading that, couldn't push it down. So it's good. So there you are. That's a different sort of, there's your gothic alleyway for you with no lights on. Great fun. And last one up is Rachel Joyce's The Homemade God. Rachel Joyce is a name you might recognise from her earlier books, The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry and Miss Benson's Beetle. She's written 5 or 6 books. And this one's a little bit different. She usually goes for that quirky, feel-good, Bachman style writing. But this one has gone slightly maybe darker. I'm not sure. There's a writer, I think she's a writer that always posits kind of hopefulness about the human condition and how humans interact with each other. And this is a book where it kind of lays out how we can sometimes not react very well and very nicely to each other because of circumstances. We have Vic Kemp, who is an artist and a commercial sort of artist, not an art world. Everybody reveres him. And God knows we've had a lot of books about that. And this one is a bit different in that sense, is that he's a man of the people and his paintings are commercially valuable, but he doesn't think he's making great art and doesn't even know, and is self-taught, doesn't even know that he'd really have an awful lot to say about great art if it came up and bit him on the nose. Larger-than-life character, has brought up 4 children on his own. He's a great lover of life and all that life can offer, in choosing, including, wine, women, and song. The whole kind of, not stereotype, but the things we're going to associate with this kind of Atlassian, larger-than-life character. And how can you be the child of a person like that? What space is there for you? Where is there sunlight in the shadow that he throws? There's the cliche of the year. But we have 4 children, brought up by him and brought up by the au pairs. You know all about that. But when we meet them, they're all adults, from their 40s down to late 20s. They are all struggling in their own way. Netta is the oldest. She's a lawyer. She has her past losses and loves. We have Susan, who is a housewife and who kind of feels she's sold herself short and has a dream. There's Gus, or Gustav, who is the very fragile, we know he's had a nervous breakdown, young man who's desperate for his sisters to stay together. And then we have young Iris, who was the youngest of the family, can see no sort of label for herself. And I like this. It's very clear that we label ourselves as, I'm the eldest, so I'm irresponsible, or I'm the homemaker and I'm this, and I'm the son. And what she's just kind of the baby, but she's adored by all. And she adores all, well, not even in particular, all of them for different reasons. So we're looking at this, how these 4 children bonded together and how most of their childhood is happy, but the happiness is located in a place called Villa Carlotta on a lake in Italy. And 2 things happen. One is Vic Kemp, father of these children, rings them up and says that he doesn't ring them up, he has to meet them. And when he meets them, he tells them he's going to get married to someone called Bella May, and no one knows who she is, and everything goes to pot there. And then later, a month or so later, when he is found dead in the reeds on that lake, things go utterly and entirely to pot. So you get these 4 siblings who have every suspicion, are looking for last artworks, are looking for, who is Bella May, who is this cousin of hers who seems to be caretaking the house. And what does this death mean for the children? It was a page turner. It is another of those books that when you go in and you get a bit hooked on, from page 3, you really want to know how they're going to survive this. You don't want to put it down. It's a great read. It's a lot of fun, and I think this is what are books doing? Well, they're taking us out of this world. Thanks be to the good Lord Almighty, because sometimes it's just a bit too trying, and letting us sort of either be transported to Regency London or to some remote Scottish island or to the shores of a lake where people are having meltdowns because did Daddy love them or did he not? So you've got those to choose from. There will be more next time that I am ready to talk to you. See you then.